Two friends just made a podcast. Two good friends just made a podcast. Two friends just made a podcast. It's called Culture Bucket. Two friends just made a podcast. Two good friends just made a podcast. Two friends just made a podcast. Culture Bucket, Georgia and Alex.
Hello and welcome to Culture Bucket. It is episode 12.
You
Right,
can't
Alex?
keep doing that.
Yep, episode 12.
Start again.
No, episode 12.
Episode 12. I
Yeah,
was not
episode 12.
ready. You keep doing that.
I'm-
I was singing a song to pick up my voice, and then you go, hello. Oh, welcome back. Episode
Yeah,
12.
that's what we do. I'm George. My co-host is Alex. You've heard from her already. How are you, Alex?
I'm very good. Thank you very much. How are you, George?
I'm not too bad, thank you, Alex. I can't complain.
Fantastic. Winter is coming. Colds are arriving. COVID is still here. Exciting
Yeah,
times.
yeah. It's not going away. Let's not get bogged down by a nest of COVID snakes. So
Yeah.
today, pretty excited. I think we've got a good episode coming up. We're going to talk about film scores and film music. I think it's a pretty excellent topic. I've got some movies I'm really excited to talk about. So yeah, thank you
Yeah.
for joining us.
It was much harder than I thought. I was like, I've
Ah.
got this nailed like weeks ago. I know my films. And then making the list this week, I was just very, oh no, maybe not. I don't know. And then I started listening to those movie soundtracks.
I was like, this idea was Alex's top 5 idea, and I think it's not a very good idea, and I'm not excited to make this list. And then I started thinking about it and making the list, and I realized it's actually an excellent idea, and I'm very
See.
excited about it.
I'm not amazing.
I was like, why are we talking about film music? This is silly.
Because
and then I
it's the
remembered that I love
best
film
topic.
music.
Like a film with a good, you can have a really rubbish film and an incredible soundtrack, and that will stay with you.
Yes, as part of the thing I did earlier in lockdown, I did a sort of Taskmaster thing, and part of it involved asking my friends what their favourite film was and why. And every single person, they all chose totally different films, but the thing that they all said they liked about the film they chose was the soundtrack.
Yeah.
So it clearly is a big deal. But we've got a few things to get through before we get to that,
Of
starting
course.
with Culture Catch-Up time, which is now.
This is Culture Catch-Up time. This is where we talk about what we've watched, what we've read, what we've listened to, and probably some other stuff. Culture Catch-Up time.
Awesome. All right. I've got some music to talk about this week. I've got a video game to discuss, and I've got some films to talk about as well. How exciting.
Very exciting.
Starting with some music, I discovered 2 new artists this week that I've been really enjoying. One of them I highlighted on our Instagram page this week. So this is a good opportunity to say, follow us on Instagram. It's a cool page.
Yeah.
We put lots of updates on there, pointing out things we enjoy in popular culture, such as albums and different film quotes and stuff like that. So all the links for our social medias are in the show notes, as always, and go there and have a look. And also in the show notes, if you don't check them, is a list of everything we discuss in Culture Catch-Up with links to their Wikipedia pages. So if you are interested in finding out more about anything we talk about, please do look there. And yeah, so the artist I put on our Instagram this week was Bartees Strange.
Hmm.
Do you know Bartees Strange, Alex?
I do not.
No, I
Not
didn't.
before
He's...
you put it on there.
Yeah.
I
He's-
was very
he's-
confused. Who is this guy?
Well, his debut album just came out. It's called Live Forever, and I saw it reviewed on Pitchfork. And we've talked before about how some of their reviews are silly, but they gave his album a high score, called it Best New Music. And I read a bit of the review, and they talked about how they were like, "Oh, this album's really good," da 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 da, and they were like, people first discovered Bartees Strange when he put out his EP of songs covering EP of covers by The National earlier in the summer, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to listen to it then. And yeah, he's got a few on his Spotify page. There's a bunch of covers of national songs, like there's a really good one of the Geese of Beverly Road,
Yeah.
and All the Wine and stuff like that. So that was good. And then I listened to his album, and his album is crazy. It Parts of it sound like the National, parts of it sound like sort of punk, parts of
Mm.
it sound like Frank Ocean, and part of it sounds like almost Kendrick Lamar, like it goes into hip hop at times. He's totally untethered from genre in a really interesting way. So I've been enjoying his album a lot this week. It's worth checking out. There's a song on it called Mustang, which is really good. And yeah, the core thing of that is that whatever genre he's working with on any one song on the album, it's always just the songwriting skills are evident, and his songcraft is brilliant. So
Nice.
I'd recommend checking that album out. Live Forever
Cool.
by Bartees Strange. Next up, I have been seeing people talk about a band for ages called Protomartyr.
Okay.
They're from Detroit. They're a post-punk band, and I've seen them repeatedly talked about in Idols fan groups as like a band that Idols fans should listen to, and I've always been like, yeah, I'll get to them one day. Then this week, in a National fan group I'm on in Facebook, somebody posted about them saying, oh, I really like them and they remind me a bit of the National, and then somebody commented being like, oh, and they're a bit like Idols as well, and I was like, fine, I'll listen to them if they're like Idols and the National. So I did. Their newest album is called Ultimate Success Today. It came out this year, and it's got sort of the punkiness of Idols, and then the singer's voice at times sounds quite a lot like Matt Berninger from the National, and it mixes those two styles really well. And they also sound quite a lot like Marky Smith from The Fall at times, and apparently I've not gone back, but their earlier albums sound a lot like The Fall, who are
Amazing.
a post-punk band from Manchester that were very prolific for years until Marky Smith sadly passed away a couple of years ago. But I like them quite a bit. So yeah, they seem really good. Protomartyr. I would recommend their album Ultimate Success Today. Have you heard of them, Alex?
No, I haven't actually. No.
You should check them out.
Yeah, I'll check them out,
There's a
definitely.
donkey on the cover of their album. We all like a donkey. Yeah, it's true. And then I've been listening to ACDC. Have you heard of ACDC, Alex?
What? Well, of course I have.
They're back. They've
Are
returned.
they?
Yes.
What? Are they alive?
Yeah, somehow they're still alive. They put out an album in like 2013 called Rock or Bust, which was a bit not great. And the tour for that album sort of imploded. The singer got fired, and a bunch of other stuff happened. And then they sort of disappeared for a while, and nobody knew what was going on with them. And now they've just announced their big, great return with all of the other than I think one of the members of the band has died in the past couple of years, but other than that, the other kind of core members of the band are all back, and they're putting out a new album in November. So they put out a single this week that I had to listen to, and it sounds like an AC/DC song. So they haven't changed.
Amazing. Well, is it good?
It's pretty good. I think it's called Shot in the Dark, and it's good as it. Yeah, I mean, I quite like AC/DC, but they are very much every song is kind of the same vibe.
Yeah, and I think they kind of were amazing when they were out.
Yeah, definitely.
Are they transferable to now?
I think so. I mean, I saw them live in 2010, and it's one of the most impressive shows I've ever seen.
Yeah, because live they are pretty energetic, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely, and they sound re-energized on this new single. So I think this album could be a fun album to look forward to in November, hopefully.
Nice.
That's cool. Yeah. So that's worth checking out. And then I've been playing a video game this week that I like a lot, so I'd like to talk about it, called Crash Bandicoot 4. It's About Time.
What? So
yes.
So sorry, because I'm not an expert on video games, but I do know Crash Bandicoot.
Of course,
have they been releasing Crash Bandicoot for all this time?
Well,
or have they stopped?
Quick history lesson. In the 90s, Naughty Dog developed 3 Crash Bandicoot games: Crash Bandicoot, Crash Bandicoot 2, Cortex Strikes Back, and Crash Bandicoot 3, Warped. which I was big fans of. They were all released on the PlayStation 1. I think they were published by Sony. I think they were PlayStation exclusives. Because I think Naughty Dog are owned by Sony now, I believe. So those 3 games are really popular platformers. I really liked them. I very specifically remember getting the second one as a Christmas present one year and being pretty happy with that. And then Naughty Dog sort of moved on, and well, after those games, they made like a kart racer called Crash Team Racing, which was pretty popular. I like that.
Yeah.
And they made a couple of other there was one called Crash Bash, which was like a party game thing. It was a bit weak. But then they sold the Crash Bandicoot character to Activision, and Naughty Dog went on to make Jack and Daxter games, and then now are well known for making the Uncharted games and the Last of Us games on the PlayStation 4.
Okay.
So they've gone on to huge things. Crash Bandicoot Activision made a couple of their own Crash Bandicoot games after they brought the character, but none of them really made much impact, and they're not particularly well regarded today. They're best left forgotten. But that original trilogy people have always loved. And about, I can't remember now, 3-4 years ago, Activision announced that they were doing a remaster of the original trilogy. So they announced the Crash Bandicoot Insane trilogy, where they had remade all 3 of those original games, like not just putting them out again, but like remade them entirely from the ground up with new graphics and stuff. And that was a hugely popular release. So then they remastered the kart racer, Crash Team Racing. Then they did a remaster of the original Spyro the Dragon games, which is another character that Activision owns from back in the PlayStation days. That was really popular. And I think there's been a feeling for years that that kind of platformer isn't popular anymore, and it's not what people want to play, because Activision make Call of Duty and all these things. So I think it was a bit of a surprise to them maybe that these remastered old games came out and were huge. So they want to capitalize on that success, and as such, they have made, and it came out about a week ago, as we're recording, a direct sequel to the original trilogy called Crash Bandicoot 4. It's About Time, which is a title that works on multiple levels. Let's go through them. Level 1, the story of the game is literally about time travel. Each little set of worlds is set in a different time.
Okay.
Level 2, it's about time that we had a new Crash Bandicoot game.
Yeah.
There's our 2 levels that title works on, and it's amazing. It's brilliant. It's exactly what Crash Bandicoot has always been. You're walking from left to right, smashing crates and avoiding enemy attacks and stuff, and occasionally you're running away from the screen or towards the screen for various things. But the core gameplay is the same, but they've updated everything that needs to be updated to kind of make it work in 2020. So each level has a bunch of hidden things you can collect to unlock new costumes for your character.
Okay.
There's different characters you can play as. So on any given level, you can play as Crash Bandicoot or his sister Coco, and they both play the same. But then there are other levels where you play as other characters. So you play as Torna, who is, in the original Crash Bandicoot game, the kind of damsel in distress character that Crash is trying to rescue, and she's animated as just this very odd sexualized Bandicoot girl. It is weird and kind of doesn't look great in 2020. So they've turned her into like a kind of alternative rocker girl, and she has like blue and pink hair and stuff, and she's a very different looking character, and it's quite, I don't know, I like the way they've updated her. She has a grappling hook when you're playing as her, and it kind of changes the gameplay up a bit. He also plays Dingo Dial, which was always my favourite boss character. He's just his top half is a dingo and his bottom half is a crocodile. That's all you need to know about Dingo Dial.
What's it called?
Dingo Dial.
Dingo Dial.
And he's got an Australian accent, and he has a kind of big vacuum thing that can hoover up crates. He's good. There's a point halfway through where you unlock like a mirror mode, which is normally done in racing games, and it's just where the track is flipped, the mirror image, so all the left turns become right turns.
Yeah.
In this, they've made the mirror mode where it does flip everything like that, but also each world has its own graphical change that they put on. So in the first world, they take away all of the sort of texture of the level, and you're just seeing the outlines of the shapes, and you can't really see much past where your character is. Whenever you do a spin attack, it's like it sends out a sonar signal that kind of reveals a bit more of the level. So that kind of changes up, and there's another one where they've taken all the colour out of the level, and it's all just black and white, and every time you do a spin attack, a bunch of paint sprays out of you and kind of recolours in the level and stuff. So yeah, there's just all these extra little bits and pieces that they've put in there to make it fun to play, and it just feels really tight, and I'd massively recommend it. I was quite sceptical of it because they've put it out as a full-priced game, which in the UK is like £55, which is a lot of money for a Crash Bandicoot game. So I did the classic teenager thing of taking some old games to a game shop and selling them in exchange for credit. And I got Crash Bandicoot for £1, which was pretty
Wow.
good. Yeah.
How many games did you have to sell for that?
I sold the new Paper Mario game, which I think is terrible, but there's not too much. I don't want to get into that because I love Mario, but I really think they missed the mark on that.
Okay.
And I got, because that's quite new, I got about £28 for that. And then I sold 2 Point Hospital, which is a good game, but I've got it on the Switch and I've built a gaming PC since then, so I don't really. It's a whole thing. I don't want it on the Switch anymore. And the newest Star Wars game, which I just sort of fell off from and didn't really love. Not Star Wars Squadrons that just came out, but it's called Jedi Fallen Order. So I sold those 3 games and together got about £50 for them. So I managed to get Crash Bandicoot 4 for just about £1.50.
That's so expensive. I didn't realize.
Alex, you've got the PlayStation 5 is coming out in November.
Yeah.
And the games for that the games for that are going to cost, like the main ones are going to cost £70.
Are you crazy?
No, I'm not crazy. Sony is crazy.
But I guess, like, from what you're saying, the amount of work they've put in graphic, like, if they're creating different worlds in one video game, like, there's a lot of work behind it, and I understand that, but I never thought they would be so expensive, because...
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, with each new graphical upgrade to consoles, like each new console generation, the cost of developing games increases. These are games that are made by teams of hundreds, if not thousands of people. They cost hundreds upon hundreds of millions of dollars to make.
Yeah.
They charge that much for them because they want to make money from them. But then the consumer, I mean, £70 for a new game, you have to really know that that game is going to... So, like, for example, I've pre-ordered a PlayStation 5 because I had to. And
did you?
Yes.
Just a moment. Did you have to?
Yes, I did. I had to. Yes. And one of the launch games for it is a remake of a game called Demon's Souls, and we're not going to get into it too much today, but at some point we'll do an episode on video games, and I will talk more about how much I like a game called Dark Souls. And Demon's Souls came before Dark Souls, and I love it. And they've done a big remaster of it, and I have to play it. So I will be paying the stupid price for that game.
How much is it?
It's £70. It's £70.
No, but the
PlayStation 5. It's £450.
Excuse
Alex.
me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it really is.
That's...
Anyway, I watched some films as well.
Let's forget about it.
Moving on. I watched a film on Netflix called The Devil All the Time.
Fantastic.
Yeah, have you heard of it?
Nope.
Okay. It just came out. It's a 2020 movie.
Yeah.
It stars Tom Holland, who you might know as Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
And he plays a young man in kind of, I think, Midwest America, kind of, I'll just say up top, this is a very Coen Brothers-y-esque movie. So, the kind of areas of the world that Coen Brothers movies are set in.
Yeah.
It's somewhere around there. He's from a place called Knock'em Stiff, I think, which is a great town name. He plays a young man. His dad in it is played by Peter Skarsgård. Is it Peter Skarsgård? There's quite a lot of Skarsgårds in Hollywood at the moment, and it can be hard to keep up with them. But I'm pretty sure... no, it's not Peter Skarsgård. It's Bill Skarsgård. Sorry.
Are they all related?
Yeah. Their dad is Stellan Skarsgård, who you'll know from... Gosh, he's been in loads of stuff. He's awesome. He was in Mamma Mia. That's not the right movie to discuss him with. All I can think of is the bad things he's been in. He was in the second Pirates of the Caribbean movie playing that boy, Orlando Bloom's dad. But he's been in good stuff as well. I just can't remember.
You just called Orlando Bloom that boy.
Yeah, he is. He's that boy. Yeah. Anyway,
like much older than you.
Yeah, but he still feels like he's the calcium kid, isn't he? So
the what?
He was in a movie called The Calcium Kid years ago that was bad. It was about boxing or something. By the way, the UK government has put out a careers analysis tool thing where you answer a bunch of questions and it tells you what job you should do.
Yeah.
And it told me I should be a boxer, which is
no
hysterical.
That is just the results from that have been hilarious.
Yeah.
Like,
And for each job, it tells you what the wages might be and when the hours might be and stuff. And for boxer, it's just like variable, who knows? Like, yeah, because it's an insane career path to just set out on.
like I'm
Anyway.
sorry, but you're the I cannot see you as a boxer.
No,
You're
I
like,
don't think
you're like a gentle giant. You would be
Yeah.
like, no.
I'm also very unfit. I would not get very far as a boxer. Anyway, and I'm dyspraxic. It didn't ask if you're dyspraxic. If I told it I was dyspraxic, it would have definitely told me not to do boxing.
No,
Anyway,
definitely.
good
it
lord.
would be an interesting. It'd be so interesting to see you box.
It would be like that episode of The Simpsons. So,
Oh, I love that.
so bizarre. So, Bill Skarsgård plays Tom Holland's dad in this movie. Bill Skarsgård is the guy that played Pennywise in the newest It films.
Okay.
Good actor. It's also got the guy that played Dudley in the original Harry Potter, in the Harry Potter movies. Plays a preacher in it, and there's a scene where he pours spiders all over his head. And he actually, they're not. I thought they were CGI. No, the guy just pours this jar of spiders over his own butt. It's bizarre. This movie it's a crazy film, and probably the highlight for me is Robert Pattinson. Robert Pattinson plays a preacher in this film, and as he is doing repeatedly at the moment, he steals the film. He is so good in this movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, The Devil All the Time. It's a thriller. It's like a southern gothic thriller. It's very much like a Coen Brothers movie, but with all the black comedy just taken out of it, and it's just grim and dark and unpleasant all the way through. It's had like a real range of reviews because some people really like that and some people really didn't. But I really liked it. I actually thought it was fantastic. But it's one of those movies where if you look at what a character is about to do and you think of what is the worst possible result of that action, that is what will happen in the film. Like, it is pretty bleak as a film. But no, I'd recommend it. The Devil All the Time. Give it a go. The other big new Netflix movie at the moment that I also watched is Enola Holmes, which is very different. Have you heard of Enola Holmes, Alex?
Yes, and I really want to watch it.
Yeah, it's good. Millie Bobby Brown from Stranger Things, she plays 11 in Stranger Things, plays Enola Holmes, the younger sister of Sherlock and Mycroft Holmes, and her mum, played by Helena Bonham Carter. Her mum goes missing. Sherlock and Mycroft turn up to the family house. Who's?
The family who's?
The family who's. Sherlock and Mycroft. Sherlock Holmes, by the way, played by Henry Cavill.
Which,
an absolute legend.
Yeah.
Mycroft
especially after those films. That film.
Well, yeah, no, less said about Superman the better. But Mycroft Holmes, the other brother, is played by, I think he's called Sam Claflin, and I only know him from one of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, but he's fine in this. Enola Holmes, her mum goes missing. They turn up to try and help find her, but Mycroft is like very Victorian and wants Enola to kind of be a young woman and be trained properly, because that's not what the mum has been doing. The mum has been raising her kind of as a bit of a sort of adventurous, rebellious girl. Sherlock Holmes is much more distant and tries to kind of not really take any part in it. Enola ends up running away to look for her mum and gets involved in another adventure as well. It's a fun, exciting kind of adventure film in the vein of something like, I don't know, The Goonies, maybe, that sort of thing, but set in the Victorian time. I quite liked it. I did enjoy it. The only issue for me is it's a touch over 2 hours long, and honestly... It barely has a plot. It really could be an hour and a half. It could be a tight 90 minutes and be about, a star rating higher, if you see what I mean. As it is, it just runs slightly too long, in my opinion. But definitely worth watching. Definitely, everyone should give it a go. Let's see. Then I watched a movie called Becky. Oh, my word. Becky. Becky stars Kevin James. Do you know Kevin James?
I don't think so.
Kevin James is Adam Sandler's mate. He starred in King of Queens and he played Paul Blart Mall.
Yes, I know him.
Yes.
But I didn't know his name was Kevin James.
Yeah, it's a very anonymous name, isn't it? So just picture that man in your mind. You know him as Paul Blart Mall Cop. Yeah. Becky is a film where a young girl called Becky is rebellious. Her mother has died. Her dad is played by Joel McHale from Community. You know him.
I do.
Joel McHale from Community has started a new relationship with a new lady who is played by the woman from Working Moms, who the the guy that looks like Chris Pratt briefly goes out with, and she's worried about having children. Do you know her?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. She plays the kind of stepmother character. There's a brother, a younger brother, stepbrother as well. They go off to a family cottage for the weekend to have like a cottage in the woods kind of thing.
Mm.
To have a weekend together as a family. They're having quite fractious times because Becky's really upset about a new relationship after her mum dying and all this kind of thing. Kevin James, Paul Blart Mall Cop, yes, plays a neo-Nazi prisoner with a massive swastika tattoo on the back of his shaved head and a huge beard who escapes from prison and needs a key. And the movie doesn't quite explain what he needs the key for, but he needs this key, which is in this cottage that Becky and her family are staying in.
Okay.
And basically, Kevin James turns up with his white supremacist friends, holds the family hostage to look for this key. Becky escapes, and this young preteen girl goes on a wonderfully violent rampage of revenge against Kevin James and his white supremacist friends. It is a bonkers film, and I very much enjoyed it. You should definitely worth checking out. If you like
Okay.
if you like to see unpleasant, horrible people being violently, told why their views are wrong. Anyway, Becky's good.
Nice.
Then I watched a film. I watched a Swedish, I think it's Swedish/Danish film from this year called Koko-Di, Koko-Da,
Mm-hmm.
which is a movie about a couple whose young daughter. This happens right at the start. Whose young daughter, is not something bad happens to their daughter that causes a rift in their marriage, right?
Mm.
And then they go on holiday,
Mm.
just the two of them, to kind of try and heal their marriage. They go camping, and they previously had brought a little music box for their daughter with fairy tale characters on it. Those fairy tale characters turn up at their tent and attack them and kill them. And then the husband wakes up in the tent and it happens again. And it's a bit like Groundhog Day, but it's
Okay.
completely like one of these fairy tale characters spends the entire film carrying a dead dog around. It's
Okay.
completely it's one of the strangest movies I've ever seen. It's really weird. It's like this odd horror, but it's not quite a horror film, Groundhog Day mad thing that's worth checking out. It's very, very interesting. I think you can rent it on Amazon Video at the moment, and yeah, I'd
Okay.
recommend that. Koko-Di, Koko-Da. If you like kind of odd, strange films, definitely give that one a go. Then, last week, Thursday, Cineworld shuts all of its cinemas in the UK because James Bond has been delayed to April next year, and the cinema industry is struggling quite a lot.
Yeah.
So, I went to the cinema on the last day before it shut to see a film that has been advertised for so long and finally got a release just before the kind of curtain fell.
Yeah.
Saint Maud.
Okay.
Saint Maud is a movie about a young woman called Maud, who at the very start of the movie something horrific happens to her, and it cuts her head, and she is a nurse, a private nurse, working in this seaside town somewhere in the UK. I think it's set. And she turns up at this house to look after this woman who is sort of dying of a terminal illness. And Maud, who has kind of had a religious awakening, takes it upon herself to save not only this woman's health but her soul as well, and attempt to convert her. It goes to some extremely dark places. It sort of is a look at faith and kind of how people can try and use faith to overcome extreme grief and trauma, and maybe when that doesn't entirely work out, what might happen. It's a great film. I really liked Saint Maud. It's probably one of the best films I've seen this year. It's got
Wow.
some really tough to watch scenes with some. I'm trying to. Is it flagellation? What's the word for like religiously kind of?
Yeah. Yeah. Flagellation.
Yeah, so
Self-flagellation.
self-flagellation. So there's like various scenes of different ways of herself kind of self-flagellating herself for like not kind of fulfilling God's wish, if you see what I mean.
Oh my goodness.
It reminded me quite a bit of another film called A Dark Song, which is available on Amazon Prime in the UK at least, which is brilliant as well, worth watching. But yeah, and it's got, as I've mentioned a few times, I love a brilliant final shot, and the final shot of Saint Maud is awesome. Like the final 12 frames or so of the film are just brilliant. So yeah, that's probably my biggest recommendation of this week is Saint Maud. The only thing to talk about is a film called. Well, okay, I've got a bit. I've got a little comedy bit that I've prepared. Do you want to hear my little comedy bit?
Hit me.
Okay, so
But is it does it include me, this comedy bit, or is it just you by yourself? Is it like a little
just me
stand
by
up?
myself, just a little bit of observation. So,
Okay.
the London Film Festival is happening at the moment,
Yes.
and because of coronavirus and everything, they have taken it virtual this year. So the London Film Festival is online, meaning that anyone can join in and watch the films through the BFI player as they run the London Film Festival. The BFI player is the British Film Institute's kind of streaming service that they run. So there's a couple of films that I wanted to watch as part of their festival. One of them being Possessor, which is a film by David Cronenberg's son, Brandon Cronenberg, and I'm watching that next week. So on our next Culture Catch-Up, I'll be able to talk a bit about that, but I'm really excited to watch that. The other one was a film called Relic, which is a film that I've been hearing people describe as pretty good, so I wanted to check it out. So I booked a virtual ticket to attend the screening of Relic, and I would like to commend the BFI for fully encapsulating the cinema experience via their virtual festival, because the following things happened when I sat down to watch Relic through the BFI player. I finished my popcorn before the film started. I had to watch the same advert 5 times.
Okay.
And the film started half an hour after it was advertised as starting. So even within my own home, all of the joys of the cinema were brought directly to me. Thank
That's
you, BFI
amazing.
player. Yeah.
Well done, BFI.
But it was a pretty good movie. It's about a lady who her mother disappears. She lives alone in this big house in the sort of the countryside in Australia. She disappears, so this woman goes with her daughter to the grandmother's house to look for her grandmother. The grandmother eventually turns up, won't tell them where she's been, and weird things start happening, and it's kind of all a bit of a metaphor for dementia. And it's got a pretty wild. The last 20 minutes are like, it was a very slow start, it was a slow burn, and then the final 20 minutes, the whole thing just explodes, which is pretty good. So ultimately, in the end, it's a pretty good film. Not quite as good as Saint Maud, and I'm expecting bigger things next week from Possessor, but
fantastic.
But yeah. So sorry, I ran quite long there, but that is my culture catch up for this week.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you for
that's all the time we have for today. So speak again next week, everyone.
Sorry. How are you feeling, Alex?
Wow. Well, I definitely haven't been as busy as you in the culture time.
That's okay.
This week I'm going to talk mainly about music and about a TV series.
Okay.
So I tried to watch a film and I switched it off. I'm not sure if I haven't got the attention span at the moment for films.
What was the film? Can you say?
Oh goodness. It's called the film that I tried to watch. It's called Good Boys. And it's produced by Seth
I've seen Good
Rogen.
Boys.
And oh my goodness, it's the biggest pile of rubbish. I can't say any other word. That it was just so, because I love children swearing. I love when you have like children being, ridiculous. But this was just boring. I watched maybe 20 minutes and it's only an hour and 20 minutes. Like it's not even like a full length film, but I just thought that was so stupid and predictable and not original, and I just switched off.
Yeah, I watched the entire thing, and it is fairly forgettable.
Which is ridiculous because in IMDb it's like 6.7 out of 10, and I wouldn't even give it that. It's just because it's from the creators of Superbad, but Superbad was good because it was an original idea at the time, but you can't carry on creating Superbad, can you?
Yeah. Well, do you know what else was from the creators of Superbad? That North Korea interview film with James Franco in it, which was
absolutely rubbish. I remember
I remember thinking, is this what all the fuss has been about? This terrible film?
It was so terrible. And I felt the same with this film. And I thought, well, I'm not even going to give it the time to watch it. And that just kind of put me off films. And I just been listening to lots of music.
That's fair.
and
So,
drawing.
what music have you been
Um,
listening to?
So on my Spotify, the new Bon Iver single popped up, which is called AUATC. AUATC.
Yeah, he's been putting out singles with odd names recently. So.
Yeah, and I thought, oh my goodness, I haven't listened to Bon Iver for a while, and I really liked the single. And then remembered that I didn't listen to the album 22 A Million.
Yeah, great
Yeah, because I
album.
was going through our time and all these people like loving it and being all like, oh my God, Bon Iver did it again. And it was just like, just social media just went all crazy on it. And that really annoyed me because, you know, certain people I knew that loved Bon Iver absolutely ripped me apart for liking Kanye West when they actually worked together. And so I was like, I don't know, I didn't listen. I was like, I don't want to be
Yeah,
one
and
of those people.
that 22 million album is very influenced by Kanye. as well.
So influenced, and that really annoyed me because we have this music purists that go, oh, Kanye is, you know, they probably listen to one Kanye song and know about him and have an opinion on him, but then they go, oh, Bon Iver's album is like the best thing I've ever listened to. And so I just was like, I don't want to listen to the album. And I made it, I don't know, I just didn't listen to it. And so this week I listened to that album, which I thought was amazing.
Yeah, it's a
And
great.
so, you know, and so inspired by Kanye West, and Kanye West was inspired by Bon Iver. It just looks like it's a really interesting album, and how he changes his voice in it, and the way that he uses instruments is really, really good. I actually listened to it a few times. And then the other album, that's a really good album as well.
Yeah, does a really good job of blending the sound of 22 Million with the sounds of his earlier albums. I think.
Exactly, and I enjoyed it much more than 22 A Million. Not that I didn't like, but I thought, oh, that's really good, and I'm really enjoying the journey that he's going through. You know,
definitely.
is like his every album, but it's a collective of people. It's not just him, isn't it?
Well, I think he has
Like-
a backing band behind him, but I think
Yeah.
creatively he's sort of the main thrust of Bon Iver.
Yeah, but
Like the very first album, I think he recorded entirely on his own in like a shed or a cabin.
Yeah. But I think like his album journey is really, really interesting, and is kind of like a really good evolution. And in fact, the new single is really, really good. I really enjoy it, and it's kind of he is going with the times, which I think it's important for an artist, and that's why people are like, oh my God, he's a sellout. Just leave artists do what they want to do.
The song he did with Taylor Swift on her new album is very good as well.
That is one of my favorite. Yeah, and that was one of my favorite Taylor Swift albums. But I can tell you that music purists would be like, oh my God, I can't believe Bon Iver worked with Taylor Swift. Like, what's wrong with Taylor Swift?
It's funny because to hear Taylor Swift talk about it in an interview, like she was really, or I think somebody else talked about it, like she was apparently very starstruck by the fact that Bon Iver agreed to be on her song, even though she's like, you know, biggest artist in the world just about at the moment. She's obviously a huge fan of his and his music, and she was really nervous about asking him to be on the song, and he said yes, and I think it was a really powerful collaboration because they both respect each other musically quite a bit.
Exactly. And is that not amazing that like somebody like Bon Iver respects Taylor Swift and somebody like Taylor Swift respects Bon Iver? You know, they're polar opposites. Why can people not respect each other and respect their differences? Is that not what the aim is?
Yeah.
Not like hate on people. And but yeah, so I thought, you know, but yeah, I'm getting back into it because I think I don't have those music purists in my brain, in my head anymore, so that's good.
Bad news.
You know who you are. And then randomly on my Spotify, this artist came up, and her name is Yazmin Lacey. Have you ever heard of her?
No, that doesn't ring a bell.
Yeah, I haven't found much information about her because there isn't. But she's I listened to her album Morning Matters. No, it's not an album; it's an EP, and it was under jazz, and it's kind of, I think it's called modern jazz or something like that. And she's got an amazing voice, and her songs are really like jazzy, but also with some like hip hop and rock and Motown. It's just like a very good mixtures of things, and I really and she's got, her voice is beautiful. And she's British, but I'm not really sure she's from London or Newcastle because I can't find much information about her. But her EP, Morning Matters, is really, really good. And she's released a few things, but I think this is the latest one. And it just popped up on my Spotify randomly, and I just listened to it like a few times, and it's really, 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 really good. So I think she's definitely someone to check out. But I'm not. I found videos on YouTube from 3 years ago, so I would have imagined to find more information about her, but there is not much. So I can tell you that she's British, either from Nottingham or London, and she's great. It's weird when you don't find information about artists, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh, I'm going to talk about her, and I haven't found anything, but she is good. Definitely check her out. Maybe not something that I would usually listen to, but I'm, I don't know, since starting the podcast, I'm opening more my horizons and listening to full albums like you told me to. And no, but it's because I think listening to music has changed a lot in the past few years, and I think as growing up, we were lucky enough to just have CDs or cassettes and listen to an album fully. But then when streaming services arrived, then you've become, well, I definitely became more eclectic on, putting things on shuffle and stuff like that. But I think now I'm kind of, especially thanks to you and Dissect, I kind of thought, okay, I'll give albums a chance again, not just
definitely.
songs.
I'm a big proponent of the album as a piece of art rather than...
That's how I started listening to music. So I'm not sure, but I think it's just because of streaming services like Spotify that you can just listen to anything.
No, exactly. But I like the album.
Yeah. And then there's this I know you said that we were too old for TikTok, but I have TikTok and I spend a lot of time on TikTok. But there's this TikTok trend at the moment that fuses two songs. And one is a song by Bear Miller, who I have no idea who she is, which is the song is called Feel Something, which is a good song. Yeah. But the second part of the songs it fuses with is a song by Labrinth called Still Don't Know My Name, or I Don't Know My Name.
Right.
Which is part of the soundtrack of this TV series called Euphoria. I don't know if you heard about it.
I've heard of Euphoria, but I've not watched it. Is that the one that Zendaya's in?
Yeah. So I've heard amazing things, and I think Zendaya won an Emmy for it, and one of the actors from it was in the kissing booth.
Wow.
Whatever. I know, amazing. And so I listened to the soundtrack. So Labrinth, I realized, made the entire soundtrack for Euphoria. If people don't know, Labrinth is a British singer, songwriter, rapper, record producer, everything, which he's pretty cool. And he did the entire soundtrack of Euphoria. So I thought, oh, I like this song. So I listened to the soundtrack. Nice soundtrack, very moody, not very he doesn't sing in many of the songs. It's mainly like music.
Yeah.
So I decided to watch Euphoria.
Okay. So what's Euphoria?
I say Euphoria is about the main character is Zendaya, this girl called Rue, played by Zendaya, and she is addicted to drugs.
No.
And she has an overdose, and she goes to rehab, and when she comes out she has to kind of like be clean, but she has no intentions of keeping clean. And she goes back to school, and you start seeing all her school mates. They're not friends, they're like people that she goes to school with. And she makes friends with this new girl in school, which turns out to be a transgender girl. And they become best friends. And that's it. That's pretty much what happens. And Yeah, and that's the plot. I don't want to say too much, but yes. So it's basically if Skins, and you remember Skins?
I remember Skins.
Channel 4 series about kids in high school.
Yeah, teen
Uh,
drama.
Teen drama. It would be if Skins and Sex Education had a baby and the baby was on steroids.
Right, okay. That sounds like an awful baby.
It is it like the problem. Okay, so the acting is amazing.
Right.
Every actor is really, really good. They put 100%. I think Zendaya is beautiful in it. This really amazing that Hunter Schafer. She plays Jules, who is a transgender girl, and in real life she's transgender as well. So that's really positive. That a transgender girl gets cast in a transgender role.
Absolutely.
I think this is her first role,
Right.
and she is mesmerizing, like beautiful. She acts with she's so natural and mesmerizing. Like every time she's on screen, you're like in awe. She's beautiful, and she used to be a model. Well, I think she's still a model. And I thought she was amazing, and I think the acting is really, really good. But I'm not sure who is this program aimed at,
Right.
because it's very toxic. Everybody is very toxic. Everything and everybody is just not very nice. Like everyone is very angry and dark. It's extremely explicit and graphic.
Right.
Like extremely. And I know that kids watch pornography. I know that. But to put in a series where teenagers are going to watch it, I personally don't believe that it should be done in a way, because you're supposed to be different from pornography. You're supposed to be...
But isn't Sex Education quite explicit?
I knew you were going to say this, and it is quite explicit. You, at one point, when you were watching Sex Education, you sent me a clip of this girl having sex with her boyfriend, and she was saying, you want to do this, you want to do that, and then he looks at her saying, no, I don't want to. And that kind of shows you that you don't have to be this way just because other boys told you to. And also, she wasn't fully naked. I don't know. I would like you to watch it just to see what I mean, because it is so violent. The sex, like, is really violent and graphic, and also it just jumps. It doesn't really have a point. It jumps from here to here and this and that. And is it good? Is it bad? What's your opinion? I found it very erratic. Yeah, I don't know. I felt like for something that is so popular and so mainstream, and Zendaya won an Emmy for it, I feel like I couldn't grasp what the meaning was of this Euphoria.
That's interesting. You watched the entire thing?
I watched the entire thing. It's like eight episodes of an hour, so it's 8 hours, and they're gonna have another series, and I was like, I won't watch another series of that. But it's so dark, and I feel sometimes they were just doing it just for the sake of it, and that's I think what annoyed me the most, because
That's what differentiates it from Sex Education.
Exactly, because I feel Sex Education does it to make a point, but here I couldn't see the point of it. I felt really weirded out about it, because I felt like, who's watching this? Who's watching this? Because I'm an adult, I'm watching it and I'm weirded out about it. Yeah. What about a kid? And if you just watch the first episodes, the language they use with girls is awful. They use, I don't know if I can say it. Can I, George? They use slut, they use bitch, they use whore. And I was thinking, if a kid watches just the first episode of this is, I just felt sick. And I don't know if that's what the point they wanted to make, but there was nothing got better.
Yeah.
And it made the world look like it was just awful.
And it needs. I feel like if it's doing that, it needs to be making a point about an issue in society rather than just doing it for the sake of it.
Yeah.
Which is, I haven't watched
And at one
this, but
point,
it
the
sounds a
issue
bit like that.
was, Zendaya is addicted to drugs because she suffers from, I think, ADHD, and she's bipolar, and she suffers also from OCD. So she takes these kind of some sort of drugs to sort her out. So I thought, okay, so this shows the way that in America drugs are just given out like that. But then she's addicted to drugs, and then that's it. It's like, okay, I don't know. I would like somebody that is not, if you have time, if you can find it, I think at least this first episode would be an interesting watch, because I just didn't know what the point was.
Yeah, I'll try and watch
Because
the first episode. It does say here on Wikipedia that it was criticised for marketing graphic adult content towards teens. So you're definitely not alone in your view.
I don't know. I just feel like if you're gonna be like that, I think you have to be intelligent, and I think Sex Education was very intelligent about it.
Okay. Well, so I think it's clear that you weren't really inspired by Euphoria.
No, not at
No.
all. Not at all. But, the acting is good, though. I feel like these actors are going to go over and up and are going to be amazing.
Sit down at the back and be quiet and get out your book, because it's time to discuss your homework. Now.
So, my homework was to watch Noragami,
Yes.
an anime from 2014, I think, around then.
Yeah.
It ran for 12 episodes, one season.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently there is a second season with a different name. But
Yeah.
I didn't watch that.
No, it's not. It's not that great.
No, okay. So we're really just talking about that main first season of one season of Noragami.
Yeah.
It's about a girl called Hiyori.
Mm.
In the first episode, she's walking along the street and she sees a man run into the street to rescue a cat from a bus.
Yeah.
Being hit by a bus, and she jumps in to save the guy, pushes him out of the way. She gets hit by the bus herself and is almost killed. The guy she had saved turns out to be a god called Yato, and his a god called Yato, and he because she saw him as this thing happened, she somehow gets caught between the world, essentially the world of the living and the world of like the dead or the world of gods. And she gets this this thing starts happening to where she'll fall asleep in the real world, and then she'll have like a spirit form that has a tail that comes out, and then she kind of is normally doing that when she sees the Yato, the god and stuff. And then there's various different gods that have their own shrines, but Yato doesn't have his own shrine. And they all have weapons that they call regalias that are like real spirits of people that have died that kind of are seen as like they look like people and you talk to them, but then when a fight starts they call their weapon name and they turn into a weapon. So what the other the third main character after Hiyori and Yato is Yukine, who is a regalia that Yato gets near the start of the series. And then they sort of go on an adventure, a few various adventures exploring the world and how it all works. And it kind of culminates in Yato having a big showdown with another, because Yato is like a war god, a god of calamity or something.
Yeah.
So he goes on this big showdown with another god of calamity that kind of wants to carry on being sort of, quite evil and bad. And Yato obviously wants to sort of change. And I think that's kind of meant to be why he doesn't have his own shrine and things and struggles a lot because he's trying to be a better god.
Yeah.
So, I mean, more successful than Hilda because I watched the whole series.
Yeah,
which is good.
more successful than Hilda.
And I liked it. It was a fun watch. It's a good show. It left me with a few questions. I felt like it didn't fully wrap up everything that I wanted to know, if you see what I mean. Like stuff like, why is Yato where he is now? Like, what led him to go from being the war god he was 100 years ago or whatever to being sort of like what change of heart did he have? What led to his change of heart?
Yeah.
And more about it really focuses in on the regalias and how they work. And the main thrust of the series is kind of the relationship between Yato and his regalia, Yukine. And how the link that they have means that when one of them does something wrong, it affects the other and stuff. And that's all done
Yeah.
quite well. I enjoyed that. There's a scene where they have to cleanse him, which is really good. So yeah, that was all really good. But I just felt like definitely it could have gone on longer and kind of answered a few more questions about the world, particularly about Hiyori and like why that has happened to her and what it means.
Yeah.
I feel like she starts off kind of fighting a little bit, and then it just sort of they're like, "Oh no, don't fight! You shouldn't fight." And then she spends the rest of the series just sort of watching them fight.
Yeah.
And her place in the group never seems like I felt like, especially the final episode, it really feels like it's building up to a point where she's really gonna like her place in the world and why she is the way she is really gonna be like decided on, and it just kind of doesn't come. So I really enjoyed it. I liked it, but I definitely feel like it just misses out on brilliance by not fully exploring a few of the ideas, which are really interesting ideas. What I guess one thing I wasn't super keen on or found a bit odd was there's a lot of weird sexual humor in it, and like weird,
Yeah.
like strange innuendo and double entendres and stuff. And I
Yeah.
found those jokes a bit out of place and a bit strange. But
Okay.
I liked the characters. I liked the character of Yato a lot, and Yukine got on my nerves a lot.
Oh yeah, he's like the worst
He was
because I think
irritating.
he's trying to. Well, he doesn't really know his place, does he? So I think he's a bit of like a struggling teenager, and that's why he's like that. And I think they managed to do it really well because sometimes you just go, "Shut up, Yukine, go away, go
Definitely
somewhere else." Yeah.
But in the middle of the series, there's like a run of episodes where like that's happening repeatedly, and it's like we need to get to
Yeah.
like you're just becoming irritating now. But yeah, no, I did like it. What do you like most about it? Why do you love it so much?
I love the idea of it, and I think that's the main thing I like about it. It's just the idea of like gods having regalias and him trying to reinvent himself and not be the god of war that is like evil, but he wants to like have his own shrine. And I don't know, I just really like the idea of it. I think it's kind of original and different. And yeah, I don't know, I just that's the main thing I like about it.
Yeah, that's fair. I like the setting. I
Yeah.
like the urban fantasy sort of
Yeah.
setting. I like the way the phantoms are animated.
Yeah.
They look
Yeah.
really cool.
And like when the eyes pop, when the
Yeah.
eyes pop out and you go
Yeah.
like, oh, that's just a really interesting idea of how to like show like an evil creature.
Yeah.
Because it is pretty disgusting. So
Yeah.
I think that's why.
It reminded me quite a bit, especially that sort of design work on the phantoms and that bit of the world reminded me a lot of Persona, the video game series.
Yeah.
Persona 4
yeah.
in particular. There's an anime. I haven't watched it, but there is an anime for Persona 4 that I think you would enjoy, based on Naragami, because they're quite similar, the stories and the style of them and stuff. So I'd recommend checking
And
that
that's
out.
the other thing.
Sorry?
That's the other thing I like is the style. The style is really good.
Yeah.
In Noragami, I think it's just like so. Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, no. So yeah, no, I liked it. It wasn't, I think Working Moms and Sex Education are still the biggest wins from recent times on the homework front, and wasn't quite as successful as that, but I definitely was in favour of it overall.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you watched it all and you weren't as negative as last week. So I watched One Punch Man or One Punch Man.
One Punch Man.
Which is the story of Saitama, who is an unlikely hero, and in a world full of superheroes where there is constant attacks from people and monsters, aliens, etc., etc.
All
And
sorts of
everybody
things.
wants to be a hero.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Saitama is not liked by many people. He's not known by many people, and is is always very, I don't know. It's not. It's definitely an unlikely hero,
Yeah, for sure.
and he. It seems at the beginning he really wants to be popular and liked, but then the more the towards the end, he kind of like accepts his role as the silly hero. Oh, the hero that nobody knows or likes. Although he is the strongest hero,
Yes.
which is crazy because everybody loves like the people's favorite hero is this guy on a bicycle who does nothing. And everybody loves him, but nobody likes Saitama, which is really crazy. But yeah, so it's an interesting series.
Yeah.
Anime. I definitely had some laugh out loud moments.
Yeah,
I
it's
sent
very
you a
funny.
picture the other day. Yeah, I sent you a picture the other day. Like in the first episode, there's this kid with like a chin that looks like a bomb, and it's hilarious. When it's and so this kid gets attacked by this crab monster, and that's when and then Saitama helps the kid with the bum chin, but it's not like a bum chin; it's like a proper bum chin. I think you should put a photo online to show people what that bum chin looks like.
Will do.
Or people should watch One Punch Man.
Oh, recommendation.
And that's and oh no, I already give it away. Well, maybe it's not a positive recommendation.
Well, we'll see.
I did tell you to watch Euphoria, and I don't recommend it to anyone. But never mind. And that's when Saitama decides to become a hero, and when after this thing, and then there's also at one point he has a T-shirt. I don't know if you ever noticed that says "Oppai."
Oh, vaguely. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's got this T-shirt that says boobs. So it just is a really unlikely hero, and he's just really like not bothered by anything, and I don't know, he's bizarre. But so what I've noticed, if you take Saitama, which is the main character, out of the picture, it's a really bland and predictable shonen, which is for boys. It's like the genre action anime. Where the heroes talk constantly about what they're gonna do. Now I'm gonna get the superpower of the beast out, and I'm going to do this and this, and you go, oh, but then Saitama arrives, and it makes everything better. And everything it does is hilarious. So without him, it's just kind of like just a predictable anime. And then he arrives.
That's definitely by design, right? Like it's intentional.
Yeah. It's definitely by because at one point, he there's this guy that really likes him, and he becomes his disciple.
The cyborg guy.
Disciple, and then he starts talking about what happened to him and it's just a long time. It's like, oh my god, is he ever gonna stop? And then Saitama's face comes out, and he's just like, is he still talking? It's so funny because that's exactly how you feel. And the cyborg guy at one point tries to kill this guy, and it's all like blah, 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 and then Saitama just gives him a punch, and the guy is defeated. One Punch Man. That's pretty, like, it's really clever because you have 10 minutes of absolute, maybe it's 10 minutes of kind of like, oh, okay. And then Saitama arrives, and it just changes the episode. And it becomes amazing. But he's like there for like 3 minutes, gives a punch, and it goes, oh, just took that. Oh, it didn't take very long. And it's good. I enjoyed it, actually. I really enjoyed it. It was funny and kind of made fun of like animes like Dragon Ball where you have like 10 minutes of like, when you have
Yeah.
those moments. And it kind of makes fun of those kind of animes, and I thought it was really, really well done. And how, all these, everybody doesn't like Saitama, even though that he constantly saves the world,
Yeah.
and nobody
But
really
he's
cares
boring.
for
He
him.
doesn't have like an exciting gimmick or
Yeah,
anything. So
yeah, yeah. He's bald. He's got like a
Yeah.
yellow cape, and he's
Yeah.
called Saitama.
And people want to see, like, all the people want to see the Dragon Ball Z fights with like the hero going at it
Yeah.
for ages and stuff. Like they don't
Yeah.
want to see him just
Yeah.
turn up and do one punch and defeat him.
Yeah.
I love the way
Yeah.
it just builds and builds, and the enemies keep getting stronger, but every time he just is just one punch.
Yeah. 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 But the last enemy then is a little bit longer, but not that much. But it's good. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was funny, and just a really interesting idea. And I'm glad that you told me to watch it, because I would have never watched it, because that's not my. That's really not the stuff that anime I watch. So yeah,
That's why I kept telling you to watch it, because I was like, you'll like it. Everyone should watch it. It's not what you think, but yeah, no.
Yeah.
But apparently the
Yeah.
second
No, it's
season
good.
is not good. So maybe stay
Yeah.
clear.
Yeah,
Which
but
is
no,
a pity,
good,
but it's a
good,
perfect single season anime.
definitely. Yeah, I think it's good. Yeah, I wouldn't watch another season of it. I think the pattern of that kind of after a little bit gets a little bit, could get a little bit boring.
I think it was intended to be one season, but then it was much more popular than successful than maybe they expected. So as a result, it kind of had to become a bit of a franchise. Like there's a video game for it and stuff now, but ultimately,
Is there?
Yeah, and it's weird. You don't play as Saitama in the video game because that just wouldn't be a fun video game. So you make your own hero. And again, apparently, Saitama just turns up occasionally in the game and defeats a really difficult boss with one punch and then leaves. So
yeah. But yeah, it's definitely a must watch. It's really, really good, different and funny, and and Noragami it is as well, I think.
Yeah, I'd recommend people watch Noragami. It's
Yeah.
interesting. It's cool. I like the ideas of it and the style and design. But yeah, that's a different case where I feel like a longer run would have been better.
The thing is, I'm not sure because I watched the second season a while ago. I'm not sure if that explains any more. I didn't really like it, so I didn't pay much attention to it. But I'm not sure if that explains more. I might actually give it a go.
Yeah, maybe I'll look
let
it
you
up.
know, because I thought I really liked the first season, and I didn't have the same questions that you have. So I thought I don't know why I didn't like the second season. So I might just give it a watch it and then let you know.
Cool. Yeah, it's not on Netflix, so I don't know how but I might try and look it up.
Okay.
Cool. All right, that's homework then. Done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Time
and
for
now we go for the
top 5.
one. Oh, I wanted to do it together.
Oh, sorry.
You won't allow me. No, it's fine. I lost the moment now.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Our top 5.
Right, so homework time is over.
Yeah.
Top 5 is here. We are going to talk about music in films.
Yeah.
Exciting. I will start with my number 5 choice. So, quick setup for what I'm about to talk about. 2007, filmmaker Paul Thomas Anderson makes There Will Be Blood, which is not my number 5 place, but he hires Johnny Greenwood, guitarist from the band Radiohead, to do the score. And Johnny Greenwood, instead of doing a traditional orchestral score, he uses an orchestra to create an unsettling tone piece that focuses more on atmosphere and droning and being unsettling than it does traditional melodies that you might get in a traditional orchestral film score. The film was really successful. People loved the soundtrack. So since then, in Hollywood, there have been many, many film scores that do that focus more on tone and drones and stuff. Johan Johansson, who sadly passed away recently, produced some fantastic film scores in this style for the director Denis Villeneuve, along with a few other directors over the years. And who else? I think Hilda Gunnarsdottir is her name. The Icelandic lady who did the soundtrack to Chernobyl and Joker. She also works in that vein. So all my spots this week on my top 5, each one is kind of honouring a different type of film music, if you see what I mean. So I really like this kind of film music, and my favourite soundtrack that uses these unsettling kind of tones is Under the Skin. Have you heard of Under the Skin?
No, not at all.
Okay, Under the Skin is a Jonathan Glazer film. It came out in 2013? Yeah, 2013. It's a sort of 2013, 2014 film. It stars Scarlett Johansson, your friend and mine, as a sort of alien being. It's a real art film, so it doesn't really give you much context to what's going on, but Scarlett Johansson is a sort of an alien whose mission, it would appear, is to explore Earth and kind of find out about humans, right? So it was filmed in Glasgow, and it does this incredibly smart thing in the film of placing Scarlett Johansson, who we all recognise and who is an incredibly beautiful Hollywood actress, in big crowded places in Glasgow, like walking through a shopping centre, and she's walking past WH Smith's and New Look and stuff, and all these ordinary Glaswegians walking by her, and she looks so different to everyone. She does look like an alien. It's such a smart way of doing this film, and the scenes of her driving this van around Glasgow, talking to genuine, obviously, like some of them are just genuine Glaswegians that they've just parked up next to and had a conversation with, and it's so strange. So it's this really weird, unsettling movie. I love this film. It's a 5-star film for me, and the soundtrack is done by Micah Levy, also known as Micah Chew, I think, who is an experimental pop artist. This was the first film score she'd ever done, and she completely knocks it out of the park. You have all these very ordinary scenes of Scarlett Johansson in a van in Glasgow, just having ordinary conversations with people, but there is this creeping sense of horrific dread because these awful strings and tones are just kind of coming at you under the surface of the film, and it's brilliant, and it does have melody to it, but it also is just unsettling soundscape that really pushes the film further. It's an amazing movie. I really, really love it, and the soundtrack is key to it. She's only done one soundtrack since Under the Skin. She did the soundtrack for the film Jackie, about Jackie Kennedy. Very different movie. And I think that one was nominated for an Academy Award, so she's getting critical recognition, certainly. And I hope that she does more film soundtracks because her score for Under the Skin is excellent. And yeah, that's all I have to say on that. What do you think?
Fantastico. I think it sounds great.
Good.
My number 5.
Yes.
So my number 5 is a film score written entirely by the band called Air.
Okay.
Yeah. So interesting story that how I know about this film score. Air released Moon Safari, and I loved that album. And then a couple of years later, they released this album, which is called The Virgin Suicides, which was the film score for the film The Virgin Suicides. Completely written and produced by Air. So as a 14-year-old person, I bought this album without even thinking there was going to be a soundtrack. I don't know. And I listened to it and I was like, oh, well, this is weird but interesting. There was only one song that was with words, which is the Playground Love, beautiful song, and then the rest was just like music. And then I watched the film The Virgin Suicides, and it just perfectly this film score perfectly was made for that film. Yeah, and kind of added to the film, which was amazing. So The Virgin Suicides was the I can't say that word, directorial debut of Sofia Coppola, and which is an amazing film. But what also makes a film is the soundtrack, which is perfect. It's it just it was the first time I think that I watched a film and appreciated the soundtrack. I think that's why I'm so in love with it.
Yeah.
Because I listened to the soundtrack before actually watching the film. I already had an idea of how I was gonna feel.
Yeah. It's interesting you
when I
discovered the
watched.
soundtrack like before you even knew the film was a thing.
Yeah, yeah, and since then, it's like 20 years ago, I'm like still in love and in awe of the soundtrack because I thought, oh, okay, I'll listen to it again this week. And I was just like, yeah, it's perfect. It's beautiful. And made me want to watch the film again. And it's kind of has it's like air. It's got the same kind of feel, but it also it makes the atmosphere. It creates a beautiful atmosphere with like electronic sounds, and it's just beautiful. And I would recommend anybody to listen to the soundtrack and watch the film because I think it's just a beautiful, beautiful soundtrack. And I thought, oh, I haven't watched the film for a while. Would I still enjoy it? And I did because they are amazing.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I rewatched Under the Skin to make sure that I liked that soundtrack as well. And,
Yeah.
cool, good. No, I'm excited. That's cool. That's interesting. I've never heard people talk about the soundtrack to that, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
My number 4 then. My number 4 is my honorary position for the film soundtrack that's more a soundtrack, a collection of licensed songs rather than a score, if you see what I mean.
Okay. Yeah.
So my number 4 spot is the film from 2019. Is that correct? 2019. Yep, the 2019 coming of age comedy film Booksmart.
Ah. Wow.
Yeah. Which we
Okay.
watched together, right? So
Yeah,
I love
we
this
did.
movie. I love Booksmart. I'm like you. I like a good coming of age comedy. Not the package, but a good coming of age comedy for sure. I like.
Shut up about the package.
Booksmart is up there as one of my favorite coming of age movies. We should definitely do a top 5 coming of age films at some point. I think because that'd be fun.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
Definitely.
I love Booksmart. One of the things I love most about Booksmart is the soundtrack because it's such a. It's done by Dan the Automator, who used to be in Handsome Boy Modelling School years ago and has just been around for years and is a cool guy, good musician, and it's all a lot of his is hip hop, and it's really it's this great kind of disparity between the films about these two very Caucasian middle class white girls from the suburbs of America, but they kind of embody some of the like going out there, doing it for yourself, working it kind of attitudes that come through in hip hop. So a lot of the scenes are soundtracked to fantastic, awesome hip hop songs. You've got Run the Jewels are in there, Death Grips are in there. There's just loads of brilliant songs are in there. And there's an official Booksmart playlist on Spotify, which is all the songs that are in the movie, broken up with little clips from Olivia Wilde, the director, and Dan the Automator and other people involved in the music who were talking about like their choices for the different songs and why they did that. And it's this interesting thing of like the character played by Beanie Feldstein, like her sort of soundtrack is the hip hop stuff throughout, and then when there starts being scenes mainly from the perspective of the other character played by Caitlin Dever, they start getting kind of softer, more atmospheric songs. So like there's a few Perfume Genius songs in there when she's in the pool. And then Alanis Morissette's on there because there's a bit where she sings Alanis Morissette karaoke. So it's got this really good range of influences in there, range of music. It's all used perfectly. Every scene, the song that they put in it feels like it was made for that scene, even though obviously it wasn't. And yeah, I think it's kind of not necessarily underrated, but I just think that the soundtrack to Booksmart is so good. It deserves recognition. So it's on my list because I love it. I love the movie and I love the music in it. What do you think about it?
I didn't pay much attention to the music, so I didn't think about it as a I don't know.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, because for me, I don't, maybe because it's a coming of age comedy, I just assumed they were putting music there as music that teenagers would listen to now. So yeah, so I don't know, for some reason I didn't think about that much about the music,
Oh, that's
which
interesting.
is interesting. Yeah.
I think
So
for me, there's a bit early on where they play a song that I like already,
mm,
and that made me, the first time I watched it, I remember being like, oh, I love this song, and then I was
yeah.
paying attention to the music throughout as a result, and just was like, yeah, no, this is, the music in this movie is the best.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, okay,
I
that's
do love
interesting.
that film though.
Yeah, you should watch it again and listen out for the
Yeah,
music.
absolutely. I will. I want to, because I think it's a great film, and also, I didn't think about the music that way,
Mm.
and I didn't realize that they were using a music for the the music for the two different characters.
I hadn't picked up on that at all. It's definitely worth listening to that playlist on Spotify and having listened to those little
Yeah.
commentary snippets, because they are really interesting actually. So I'd recommend everyone goes and does that. And the link for that will be in the
Nicer.
show notes. So that's my number 4.
In the show notes.
What's your number 4?
So my number 4 is what you said like before, is like a collections of songs rather than a music score, a soundtrack, but I think is amazing, and is from the film Guardians of the Galaxy Awesome Mix Volume 1.
Okay, interesting.
I love that soundtrack. So it's was created by, it's not composed, it's created really, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess curated, you'd say.
Curated by Tyler Bates, who also did, of the films I know, 300, Grindhouse, Sucker Punch, movie 43, which nobody liked.
No.
Yeah, so kind of like quite a lot of films that are quite popular, and I love the movie soundtrack. First of all, it's because of the songs are amazing. The songs choices are amazing, but also the fact that they are part of the film.
Yeah.
And the fact that he listens to these songs. They're not just a movie soundtrack. These are the songs that he listens to. They are physical beings in the film.
Do you know what they call
which
that?
makes it...
Do you know what that's called?
No.
Diegetic music, I believe, is the term for when the music is being heard. So a fairly famous example is Mr. Blonde in Reservoir Dogs, with when he's playing the Stuck in the Middle of You.
Yeah. I knew that, but I completely forgot, because I actually did media in uni. And I was like, oh yeah, you're right.
I didn't do media at uni. I just read Wikipedia a lot.
Yeah, but yeah, and I after I watched the film, I just like the first scene when he's going in this place, and he just puts his Walkman on and he listens to the song.
Yeah.
Is it Hooked on a Feeling?
I think it is Hooked on a Feeling, that first scene.
And I think that just starts the film for me, and just puts me in the mood for the film, and I think is amazing. And I have the soundtrack. I listen to it often. It's just perfect, beautiful, and I love it. It's just also it's like it's a character in the film. Without the soundtrack, I don't think Guardians of the Galaxy would be so good.
Yeah, the soundtrack is instrumental to the success of that film, for sure. Like, it's awesome.
Yeah, so Guardians of the Galaxy, number 4, good songs, good choices, good character, good everything.
And how do you think the second Awesome Mix compares?
Not as I didn't think it was as good.
The second Guardians of the Galaxy movie is good, but it's not. It doesn't reach the heights of the first one for me, and particularly the music choices.
It was good, but I think the first one is just perfect.
Yeah,
and it's perfect for the film.
Yeah, I would agree with that completely. A good, solid choice. I like it. Okay, so my number 3 spot is my honorary place for the big classic orchestral scores and iconic themes, if you see what I mean. And it's a place. It's controversial, but this is I'm putting a franchise in my number 3 spot rather than one individual film.
Yes.
And the franchise is James Bond, International Super Spy, License to Kill, 007.
Yeah.
John Barry wrote the iconic James Bond theme, or stole it from a musical, according to some people. But anyway, the James Bond theme tune is iconic. The scores to the James Bond movies are really good, and the reason I wanted to put it on as a franchise as a whole is because I think that the theme song that each Bond movie has become a truly iconic part of cinema, and I love the James Bond theme tunes, and I wanted to talk about them. So here we go. They're great. They're awesome.
Cool.
My favourite is Live and Let Die. I really like the one Billie Eilish did. I hope I get to see the film someday before I die. Maybe if I'm lucky.
Sorry.
And yeah, and Jack White and Alicia Keys' Quantum of Solace theme tune is probably my least favourite because it's just strange. But yeah, James Bond. What do you think, Alex?
You know, I'm not a great James Bond fan.
I know,
but it's good music, good scoring,
yeah,
good everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How could you resist that?
Absolutely.
Nobody can.
Yeah.
Yeah. We went to see Spectre together. Sam Smith did the theme song for that. It's The Writings on the Wall. Not the best Bond theme, but it grew on me. I quite like it. Chris Cornell, R.I.P. Chris Cornell. His You Know My Name from Casino Royale is a wonderful song. Shirley Bassey obviously iconically did Goldfinger and Moonraker and Diamonds Are Forever. Did she do Moonraker? Yeah, I think she did. So yeah, no, I love the Bond movies a lot, and the music is a big part of that and reminds me of my childhood. And yeah, if you've never watched a Bond movie, then watch one. Start with From Russia with Love. If you like classic cinema, start with From Russia with Love. If you like more modern stuff, go with Casino Royale. But either way, you'll have a great time.
Yeah.
And if you like cheesy nonsense rubbish, watch Moonraker.
Yeah. After your choice now, I'm rethinking my life.
Why? What do you mean?
Because when you texted me the other day, I didn't really understand what you meant. And now I'm like, oh, that's what you meant. That makes things different. But never mind. I'll stick to my 5, and then maybe one day I'll talk about other things.
Right, okay. What did you think I meant?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes I don't know sometimes I don't know what you're talking about. So I just go with the flow.
All right, that's nice to know. Thanks. Right, what's your?
I trust you enough to go with the flow. No, it's been a good 7 year. 7 years.
7 year
relation.
Yeah.
Yeah, 7 year relationship like that. So I just go with you, and just usually it's good times.
Fair enough. Okay.
Sometimes it's bad times.
Okay. What's your number 3 choice?
Yeah. My number 3 choice. I love all the soundtracks that this director chooses is all the songs, so it's not it's mainly collection of songs, but I feel like this director chooses the best songs for the best moment to create an atmosphere which is amazing. And without those songs, the scene that he creates wouldn't be the same.
Okay. So, what's your favourite Quentin Tarantino soundtrack?
Oh no, this is not Quentin.
No, really? Wes Anderson.
This is
Yeah, okay. Second try.
So I had to choose my favorite Wes Anderson soundtrack, and it didn't take me very long because my favorite is from the film The Darjeeling Limited.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So although I love all of the soundtracks, and it was between the Royal Tenenbaums and the Darjeeling Limited, I was like, I already spoken about the Royal Tenenbaums, and I own the physical copy of the Darjeeling Limited soundtrack.
Cool. What's on that soundtrack?
It starts with Where Do You Go to My Lovely when they're in Paris, and then it's got a lot of Kinks. It's got a lot of Indian music composed by Satya. Oh, okay. Just a moment. Satyajit Ray. It's got one of my favorite Kinks songs, which is This Time Tomorrow. This time tomorrow, where will we go? But yeah, I love that song. But I think the soundtrack is amazing. I think it's perfect. I love the fact that there's a lot of Indian music. I just love how he chooses his music.
Yeah.
And he doesn't necessarily go for a pop. So he didn't go, for example, for I don't know. I'm not a massive Rolling Stones fan, the Rolling Stones fan. I don't know. But before watching the film, I've never heard Play with Fire.
Right.
So I feel like he's got such a knowledge of music that he manages to choose even things that are a little bit obscure from things that maybe people don't know.
Yeah.
And I think that the choices that he made of like Indian music is just so perfect.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought he's amazing, and he's just really good with his soundtracks, and I think this one is one of them, and it's beautiful. And I love the film, of course, and I love the soundtrack. And but yeah,
He is great.
yeah,
Wes
no,
Anderson
it's,
is brilliant at choosing songs, and he clearly has a
Yeah.
big love for that sort of British invasion '60s rock stuff, like the
Yeah.
Kinks and Rolling Stones. They pop up, especially the Kinks. They pop up in a few of his films, I think.
yeah.
Good choice. Cool.
Oh, thank you, G. What's your number 2?
My number 2 is my place in my list for the musical film.
Oh, see, you should have told me you were doing this
Why?
because oh goodness, I hope it's not going to be what I think. But never mind. I didn't think about dividing it into categories. That would have been easier.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't intentionally do it. It just sort of naturally happened and seemed like the easiest way to go with it for me. But it's all right it's all fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah, but yeah, your list seems much cooler and inclusive.
I disagree.
Mine is not very
I
inclusive.
disagree. Your list is personal to you and is lovely and wonderful. So,
Okay.
So yeah, musicals are a great part of cinema, and lots of great film soundtracks have come from musicals. So my number 2 pick is 1974's. Is it 1974, Alex? No, 1973. Sorry. So my number 2 pick is 1973's The Wicker Man.
Ooh, nice.
Starring.
I don't.
So go on.
Is The Wicker Man a musical?
Yes, my contention is fully that The Wicker Man is a musical. Stars Edward Woodward and Christopher Lee.
Okay.
My favourite thing about Edward Woodward is this joke. Alex, why does Edward Woodward have 4 Ds in his name?
Oh, this is probably really stupid.
It is.
Because I don't know. Tell
Because
me.
if he didn't have 4 Ds in his name would be Ewa Woo
Okay.
R.I.P. Edward Woodward, you were a brilliant actor,
Yeah.
especially in The Wicker Man, which is one of the all-time great performances, alongside Christopher Lee as Lord Summerisle, also giving an amazing performance. Britt Eklund as the landlord's daughter is fantastic. And yeah, it's a horror film. It's a folk horror film. It's one of my favourite horror films. It's one of my favourite films. It's about a police officer who goes to an island off the Scottish coast to look for a missing girl and discovers that things are not quite right in this sort of pagan society, and it devolves into some quite unpleasantness. But it is a musical because repeatedly throughout the film, characters break out into song and dance, and it's not just on the soundtrack, they are singing within the film. So, to my mind, it's a musical. It's got some really, really good musical numbers, and I often listen to the soundtrack, which is by Paul Giovanni. And yeah, it's kind of it. I think that's what works about the film in a way, is that it's so odd and unsettling and strange, and there are these scenes where suddenly all the characters will just start singing a folk song in the middle of the pub, or in the middle of the street, or you see these children going around a maypole and singing this song and things like this. And yeah, I love the music for this movie. I think it is a musical. I mean, I'm being a bit silly, but I do think it's a musical in a way. And I love it. Have you seen The Wicker Man, Alex?
No, I've never watched The Wicker Man because it's a horror, and I don't watch horrors.
That's fair enough. It's a pretty. I don't know. It's scary in ways, but it's not a violent film.
Okay.
Really. It's a great film. It's brilliant. You should watch it. So yeah, The Wicker Man.
Yeah.
The Wicker Man. I love that film so much, and a lot of that is the music. So that's my number 2 pick. What's your number 2 pick?
My number 2 pick is I'm back to film scores, and is a film score from one of my favorite genres of film, which is anime.
Lovely.
And is the film score composed by Joe Isahishi for the film Princess Mononoke.
Ooh, wow. Okay.
Yes, yes. I knew I wanted to put a Ghibli film in because I think Joe Isahishi is an incredible composer. He like he manages to create moods that he knows when to make you cry, he knows when to make you upset, he knows when to make you angry, scared. I don't know. He's amazing. I think he's a genius. And I chose Princess Mononoke because I think that is definitely, for me, in my opinion, the best soundtrack. I could listen to it without watching the film, and he just created 65 minutes of pure beauty. And two of the songs were actually written by Miyazaki,
Wow.
which is interesting. Yeah, so Miyazaki is a pretty all-rounded, incredible human being.
He is.
But I just think he's amazing, and I think he composed nearly all of Miyazaki's productions. So he's, if you watch a Ghibli film, you probably are listening to Joe Hisaishi song, and I think is amazing. And I spoke about him a few episodes ago when I was talking about Kikujiro and the soundtrack Summer, and I just really like Joe Hisaishi, and he's actually another person that I have physical copies of his work because I think he's so good.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I think they probably, because they blend so well with the visuals, his soundtracks, that I wouldn't have thought to put one on my list. But you're right that the Ghibli movies and Miyazaki's movies do have amazing scores that are worth highlighting. That's interesting. I think that's a bit like Booksmart for me. I would not have picked out the music in Mononoke as being really, really notable because it all just goes together so well. But now
because I'm obsessed with Ghibli, I own the soundtracks.
Well, now I want to listen to that soundtrack for sure because I've never.
Oh, definitely listen to the Mononoke because it's just, and if you know the film well, then you can remember the scenes as well, and you think, that's also part of the film. How amazing this, and what I love about his soundtracks is that they're just integral part of the film. A bit like one of the characters of the film no, maybe not the characters, but the scenery of the film.
Yeah.
Totally part of the scenery of the film. That if somebody else would have made the score, I don't think it would have been the same.
Yeah. So it's like holding the film up and improving it, but in a way that isn't flashy or taking focus away from the film, which is a really difficult thing to do. So nice, good.
So number 2, Princess Mononoke, or Mononoke Hime.
Mononoke Hime. Good. Okay, cool. So my number one pick.
Yeah.
My number one pick is a film. This spot is reserved for my favorite film composer, and I've picked one specific film of his, but I just love all of his scores. I think he is a living genius legend. This is a man who writes his films, directs them, often produces them, and in the vast majority of cases has also composed the score for them. He is possibly the greatest living filmmaker, criminally underappreciated by society due to his chosen genre of horror. The man is John Carpenter, and the film is Halloween.
Oh, okay. Oh, what? He does everything.
He does it.
Even the music.
Yeah, he does the music.
Wow.
He, in fact, in recent years, he's released 2 albums called Lost Themes and Lost Themes Part 2, which are just music, like not for films in particular. He's released an album called Anthology, where he's re-recorded a bunch of the themes for his different movies, which is an amazing album. Like, amazing. Like, his theme for Halloween is wonderful. His theme for The Fog is fantastic. In the Mouth of Madness, Prince of Dark, like the guy has just done all these brilliant things. He works in synths. I love a good synth score. I really, really like a good synth score to a film, especially like an 80s synth score. Oh, it's the sweet spot. It's so good. And nobody does it as well as John Carpenter. And
Wow.
I had to pick Halloween. I part of me wanted to pick The Fog because I've watched that recently. I've spoken about that on the Culture Bucket podcast before. Why did I just say it like that?
Yeah.
Spoken about The Fog before, and I really
Mm.
love that the theme to The Fog is wonderful. But no, like for a long time, Halloween has been one of my favorite films, and that score is iconic to me, and I absolutely adore it. It creates such a great unsettling atmosphere in the film, and yeah, it's just iconic. It's wonderful. I love it. I love John Carpenter. I love his films. It frustrates me that he'll never be an Oscar winner. He'll never get that kind of recognition. But he is an amazing talent and deserves to be noted as such.
It's bizarre that I always assumed that he was a fictional character, John Carpenter. Is there something?
That is bizarre.
That,
You're right.
is there a fictional character called John Carpenter?
John Carter,
Or maybe.
but that's
Because when you said it, I was like, that's not a real guy. Who are you talking about?
see, that's how underappreciated he is. You didn't even know he was real.
I know. That's crazy, isn't
Yeah,
it?
but we're talking right. Halloween, The Fog,
Yeah.
Prince of Darkness,
Yeah.
In the Mouth of Madness, Big Trouble in Little China. They Live, The Thing. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't think of another director with such a strong body of work.
The problem is, haven't seen any of his movies. Any.
They're all well, they're not all good, but by and large, particularly up to a certain point in time, mid-90s, they are phenomenal. So many 5-star films from that man.
Yeah. I should. I just need to spend, I don't know, a day, an afternoon, a week
John
watching
Carpenter
those
Day.
things.
What a wonderful thing that would be.
But I probably won't sleep for a couple of years.
No, it's like not all of his films are horror films, and not all of his horror films are terrifying. Like The Thing, maybe don't watch The Thing straight away. Maybe don't watch Halloween immediately. Although a lot of people think Halloween isn't scary now, but I don't know. I think it is. But like Big Trouble in Little China is like an action comedy starring Kurt Russell. Like you would love that film. That film is awesome. Escape from New York is an action movie that I've actually never seen, shamefully, but that's another one of his that's not a horror film that is worth watching.
Yeah.
And The Fog is a horror film, but it's not scary. It's just fun.
Okay.
So, yeah, In the Mouth of Madness is scary but brilliant. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
There we go. That's my number one pick. John Carpenter, Halloween, but really all of his stuff. And if you haven't done so, listen to his albums, in particular his anthology album that is a collection of his film themes, because they are great. So yeah.
Cool.
What's your number one pick, Alex?
My number one pick. So my number one pick. I still haven't talked about him in my films or anything, and I love him. And I think this director chooses the best songs for his films. You actually said his name before.
Did.
And the director is Quentin Tarantino, and I love his music. I love how he makes his movie score. Well, it's not movie scores. It's like collections of songs for his films. Yeah. And this was the first soundtrack that I put down because I love it, and is the soundtrack for the film Jackie Brown.
Oh wow, an interesting pick.
Yes. So Jackie Brown is my favorite soundtrack of all times. I love it. Like I watched Jackie Brown maybe a couple of weeks ago, and I knew all the songs, and I sing them while while I watch the film. I annoy people. Yeah, and I love it because the songs he chooses are so great, and it's like a homage to kind of blaxploitation films, and he chooses some incredible songs like from Bobby Womack, Across 110th Street, and Randy Crawford's Street Life, which is like one of my favorite songs of all times. I don't know, he just chose the perfect songs for that film, and I think we have been saying that for the past 5 choices. This soundtrack makes film.
Yeah.
it also works by itself without the film because it's an incredible soundtrack with incredible choices, and then with the film it works even better, and I think it elevates the film to a different level of greatness. And like I remember people criticizing Quentin Tarantino for like choosing songs that already been chosen in other films, and but I think that's what makes his films great. I think his choices of songs in films are perfect, and I don't know why people would criticize that. If trying to find the perfect song for a perfect scene is not an easy thing.
Yeah.
I just I hate when people like kind of like put that, oh, those songs already been done, he's just recycling. But
No, because he's placing it alongside visuals and making it all work together and creating something new. So
exactly, and I think how he does it is amazing, and in every film, but how he does it in Jackie Brown is amazing, and I love that film. It's beautiful. I love the film. I love the soundtrack. I love everybody in that film. It's beautiful. Really great film. And that's why my number one is Jackie Brown.
good. I like it. It's a good choice.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have expected that Quentin Tarantino film to be your pick, so I like it. It's interesting. So, recap. My top 5 was number 5, Under the Skin by Michael Levy. Number 4, Booksmart, curated by Dan the Automator. Number 3, the James Bond franchise. Number 2, The Wicker Man by Paul Giovanni. And number 1, Halloween by John Carpenter.
Fantastic. Great choices.
Thank you.
My number 5, The Virgin Suicides by Air. Guardians of the Galaxy, James Gunn and curated by Tyler Bates. The Darjeeling Limited, I guess, curated by Wes Anderson.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Princess Mononoke, created by Joe Hisaishi. And Jackie Brown, I guess, curated by Quentin Tarantino.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Okay, so my honourable mentions this week. It's a long list. I won't go into it too much, but The Guest, which is stars Dan Stevens. It's a John Carpenter homage, and the soundtrack is an homage to John Carpenter's soundtracks, so I love it. The Social Network, the David Fincher movie. The soundtrack was famously done by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails, and he's done a bunch of soundtrack work, which is awesome. But I think he won an Oscar for The Social Network, and it is a fantastic score for a movie that's not one I go back to often. Midsummer, which we've talked about enough on this podcast, but I love the soundtrack to Midsummer. Blade Runner by Vangelis. Blade Runner 2049 also has a wonderful soundtrack. The Joker movie has a fantastic score. There Will Be Blood, which I spoke about earlier. Pirates of the Caribbean. Those films have a surprisingly brilliant soundtrack, especially the theme.
I didn't get past the 20 minutes after in the first one, so I have no idea.
Enough. Hans Zimmer. There is the first Pirates of the Caribbean is a good film. Tenet, which I watched recently, had an awesome soundtrack, but it's a bit too recent for me to really make a judgment on. But I remember really liking it. Grand Budapest Hotel is probably my Wes Anderson pick. Suspiria, both the original by Goblin and the remake by Tom York, are fantastic soundtracks. Twin Peaks Fire Walk With Me has a great soundtrack, as does Blue Velvet, as does Eraserhead. David Lynch and Angelo Badalamenti are involved in some of those. Jurassic Park and Jaws by John Williams are fantastic. Sicario, a Denis Villeneuve movie. Johan Johansson did a very awesome brooding score for that. Annihilation, Drive, and finally The Good, the Bad and the Ugly by the great Ennio Morricone. They are all my honourable mentions.
Yes.
How about you?
I'm gonna hop on Ennio Morricone. Anything that Ennio Morricone has done, any score is amazing. He was a genius, a bit like Joe Hisaishi. In fact, I was like, so anything. He was amazing. Sergio Leone's films are amazing, and Ennio Morricone did all his soundtracks, and he was beautiful. So Your Name, Japanese film that I mentioned in my favorite bands, Radwimps. Moana, incredible soundtrack. I'm going to go for cartoons now. So I'm going to do Moana, amazing. The Lion King, Beautiful soundtrack. Amazing. And then Mary Poppins, the first one. You know, better than that. How can you go better than that?
Yeah.
And then Blues Brothers.
Yep.
Come on. Sorry.
I
Romeo plus Juliet with Claire Danes and Leonardo DiCaprio has got an amazing soundtrack.
Baz Luhrmann knows how to do music.
Oh, and of course Moulin Rouge. Ooh la la, beautiful. That's why I love movie soundtracks, because it just when they hit the spot, they hit the spot.
Yes.
That's terrible, isn't it? Train Spotting, amazing soundtrack. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? My favorite Coen Brothers soundtrack, beautiful. I said soundtrack so many times. Bohemian Rhapsody, I had to put it in because I love Queen. Sorry. Dangerous Minds, a film with Michelle Pfeiffer and the teachers in a school in a bad area, let's say. Famous song by Coolio. Let's do the best of life in Gangsta Paradise.
Yep.
And then Sister Act. How can you not love the soundtrack? Sister Act. And all the Ghibli movies, and that's it. Really.
Nice. Okay, cool. Good. So we come now to
Yeah.
homework assignments.
Yeah.
So I would like you to watch the film, because I think we have to watch the film and maybe listen to the soundtrack as well if we can. But definitely you have to watch the film and experience the music as intended.
Absolutely. Would you want to watch the film first? No, would you want to listen to the soundtrack first and then watch the film? Oh.
My preference would be to watch the film and then listen to the soundtrack.
Fine.
But you can do it however you want, Alex.
Fine. Okay.
Under the skin.
Is it scary?
It's unsettling.
Oh, George.
You can do it, Alex.
I can't do it.
It's a good film. You'll like it. Under the Skin.
I won't.
You will.
But I'll try. Fine.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think the only one that you haven't watched is The Virgin Suicides.
Yeah.
And the soundtrack made by Air.
Okay, awesome. I've never seen it, so I look forward to watching it and checking out the soundtrack.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
Cool.
Well,
and if this is scary, I'm not going to be happy.
It's unsettling.
Well, unsettling is sometimes worse than scary.
Well, it's a sci-fi film.
Okay,
it's
fine.
A great movie. It will convince you even more so that Scarlett Johansson is a great actress.
Okay.
Fine.
Okay.
I really would like to know what you think of it. Genuinely, it's a really interesting film. Got some, strange, freaky imagery in it at times, but it's a valuable movie. Okay.
I'll have a go.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Okay.
It's been
Thank you.
a rambunctious recording. There's
Yeah.
been a handful of technical issues, but I'm sure Alex's incredible editing skills will mean that you haven't noticed any of that.
Yeah. But I'll keep this in case I can't delete it.
Please do follow us on social media. Join us in all the places we are in. We're on Instagram, Twitter a little bit, but we seem to get the most uptake on Instagram. So do follow us on there. Check us out on letterboxd for our film lists. We've got there's a Spotify playlist you can follow as well for our song choices and all of that stuff. And there's a discussion group on Facebook, which we would love you to get involved in as well. And you can always email us as well.
Please.
All the links for that are in the show notes, along with links to all the things we've talked about today in Culture Catch Up. Come back next week when we're going to be talking about actors. Yes, we're going to do our first ever 2-part episode because we don't feel entirely comfortable splitting actors by gender, because I don't think that's a necessary thing anymore.
No.
So instead of doing top 5 actors and top 5 actresses, we're just doing top 10 actors, and it's, gender is... It's a weird one because everyone, the Academy Awards still splits actors by male and female.
Yeah.
But now there are, I don't want to feel like we're kind of by definition, not allowing non-binary actors to be in our list or be in discussion and that kind of thing. And it's just the yeah. So top 10 seems like it makes the most sense.
Yeah, and I think it's good.
Yeah.
Top 10 is fine. You know, we don't have to just choose five.
Yeah, just
Top
trying to
10.
be as
Beautiful.
inclusive as possible, and just let's
Yeah.
all get on with each other and have a lovely time. So we'll see you then for next
Definitely.
week when we do our top 10 actors part 1. Join us next week. It'll be a blast.
Thank you.
Bye. Love you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.